Imagine losing everything you own tomorrow. Your fortune, your fame, your comfort. What would you do? Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and philosopher of Stoicism, once ruled the most powerful empire in the world. Yet he wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He knew that true power doesn't come from wealth or titles, it comes from mastery of the self. While others feared losing gold, he trained to lose nothing that truly mattered: his reason, his virtue, his calm. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Now imagine applying that same stoic clarity to your financial life. In markets that rise and fall, in a world ruled by fear and greed, the one who remains calm wins. This isn't just about getting rich. It's about becoming unshakable, building wealth on the foundation Marcus taught centuries ago. Let's begin there. Part 1, the foundation, the Stoic mindset of wealth. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that everything you own is gone: your house, your savings, your job, your reputation. What would you do? Most people would fall apart. But Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and philosopher of Stoicism, once wrote in his journal, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." To him, everything could be stripped away except one thing: his mind. And that he believed was the only form of wealth that no one could ever steal. Marcus understood something most people never do. Money can buy comfort, but not peace. Status can buy attention, but never self-respect. Wealth without wisdom is simply poverty dressed in gold. He ruled over the greatest empire the world had ever seen, commanding armies, influencing nations, and shaping history. Yet the greatest thing he ever sought to control was himself. Every day he reminded his soul, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's where the journey of a Stoic investor begins, not with wealth, but with mastery. Because before you can control your fortune, you must first learn to control your mind. In our modern world, that lesson is more critical than ever. The average investor checks their portfolio more than 7 times a day. Social media floods us with images of other people's success, making us anxious, envious, and desperate to keep up. We chase what we don't understand and panic when it disappears. But the Stoic sees through the illusion. He doesn't battle the market, he battles himself. He knows that no algorithm, no guru, no prediction can replace calm judgment. Because when emotion rises, logic falls. Think of your mind as a marketplace. Every thought is a trader shouting for your attention: fear, greed, envy, hope. The Stoic investor stands above the noise, observing, not reacting. He understands that not every trade deserves action, and not every emotion deserves belief. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, wrote, "Wealth is the slave of the wise man and the master of the fool." Money doesn't change you, it amplifies you. If you have discipline, it becomes your servant. If you lack control, it becomes your master. That's why Stoicism isn't a philosophy of denial, it's a philosophy of design. It teaches you how to build inner systems that remain unshaken when the outer world collapses. Marcus believed that peace begins with focusing only on what you can control. Markets rise and fall. Trends shift overnight. Politicians make promises and break them. You can't control any of that, but you can control your attitude, your habits, and your desires. Epictetus, once a slave, later a philosopher, said it best: "Some things are within our control and some things are not." This truth is the core of Stoic investing. Focus on process, not prediction. Focus on consistency, not chaos. Focus on effort, not outcome. In finance, it means controlling your savings rate, your exposure to risk, your discipline. In life, it means controlling your reactions when things fall apart. The calm investor doesn't ask what will happen next. He asks, how will I respond when it does? Acceptance is the second Stoic pillar. To accept what you cannot control is not weakness, it's wisdom. It doesn't mean giving up. It means seeing clearly. Seneca wrote, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not." Acceptance turns anxiety into awareness. It transforms panic into patience. When you stop fighting reality, you start to act rationally. During the financial crisis of 2008, markets fell over 50%. Millions sold everything in fear. But those who stayed calm, those who accepted that chaos is temporary, recovered and prospered. The patient doubled their wealth while the panicked destroyed theirs. The Stoic doesn't pray for calm waters. He trains to sail through storms. He sees volatility not as a punishment, but as practice. And then comes gratitude, the quiet strength that fuels wisdom. Gratitude is not softness. It's clarity. Neuroscience now proves that gratitude rewires the brain for better decision-making. In a 2022 behavioral finance study, investors who practiced daily gratitude journaling made 17% fewer impulsive trades and were 23% more likely to stick to long-term plans. Gratitude literally improves your financial returns. Marcus wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to love, to act." When you start your day with gratitude, you begin to see opportunity where others see loss. You act with reason, not emotion. You trade with perspective, not panic. Here lies the paradox: the more you chase wealth, the more it runs away. But when you cultivate inner calm, wealth begins to follow you naturally. Why? Because calm minds make better choices. Better choices compound into results. And those results over time create freedom. That's why the Stoic investor doesn't obsess over timing the market. He focuses on time in the market and time mastering himself. A 40-year Vanguard study found that long-term investors who stayed consistent earned almost twice as much as those who tried to time their entries and exits. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was temperament. Warren Buffett once said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." If he had lived in ancient Rome, Marcus Aurelius might have written the same words in Meditations. Naval Ravikant, a modern philosopher and investor, echoes that Stoic wisdom desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. The fewer desires you have, the freer you become. And freedom, not fortune, is the true measure of wealth. Try this small exercise. Each morning, write down one thing you can control today and one thing you must accept. Each night, write down one thing you're grateful for, no matter how small. This is not journaling, it's training. By the end of a week, you'll notice the noise in your mind quiet down. You'll make fewer emotional decisions, not just in money, but in life. That's how Stoic wealth begins: with awareness, not anxiety. With patience, not panic. With mastery, not motion. When the Antonine Plague struck Rome, millions died. The empire trembled. Marcus Aurelius lost soldiers, friends, even his co-emperor. Yet in his private writings, he didn't complain. He simply reminded himself, be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it. He didn't focus on what he had lost, but on how he could lead. He didn't seek comfort, he sought character. He knew that chaos does not destroy a man, it reveals him. And that's what Stoic investing really is: a practice of strength in uncertainty. You cannot control when the next crash will come, but you can control whether it finds you panicking or prepared. Every financial decision is a spiritual test. It shows who you are under pressure. It reveals whether you're guided by fear or by wisdom. If you can stay calm when others panic, if you can wait when others rush, if you can focus on the process instead of the result, you are already wealthier than most. Because true wealth is not measured by numbers, but by peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius left behind gold marble armies, but his greatest legacy was perspective. He proved that a man can lose everything and still remain whole. That power doesn't come from what you hold on to, but from what you can let go of. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." To be a Stoic investor is to live that truth, to stay steady when the world shakes, to remain rational when others lose faith, and to pursue purpose beyond profit. Because money fades, but wisdom compounds forever. Tonight, ask yourself 3 questions. What am I chasing and why? What can I control and what must I release? What does enough truly mean to me? Write your answers down. They may not change your bank account, but they will change your peace of mind. You've now stepped onto the foundation of Stoic wealth, the understanding that prosperity begins within. No strategy can save a chaotic mind, but a calm mind can thrive in any storm. In the next part, we'll move from philosophy to action, from inner mastery to practical strategy. You'll discover how the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius shapes modern investing, how discipline becomes power, patience becomes profit, and simplicity becomes your greatest edge. Take a deep breath, center yourself, because next you'll learn how wisdom itself becomes wealth. Part 2. The Strategy. How Stoicism shapes smarter investing. You now understand the foundation that wealth begins not in numbers, but in your mind. But philosophy without application is like a compass never used. So how do we turn Stoic calm into real-world action? How do we invest like Marcus Aurelius would with reason, discipline, and unshakable patience? The truth is simple, but not easy. The Stoic investor does not seek control over the market. He seeks control over himself within the market. Because markets are not made of money, they are made of people. And people are made of emotions. To master the market, you must first master emotion. Marcus once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." The market crash doesn't hurt you. Your reaction to it does. The bear market doesn't destroy wealth, panic does. The bull market doesn't create wisdom, greed erases it. The Stoic strategy begins here, discipline over emotion. When the crowd rushes in or flees in fear, the Stoic holds still. He watches calmly as prices collapse, knowing that everything temporary must fall. He doesn't see disaster, he sees discounts. He doesn't see risk, he sees training. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, global markets fell nearly 34% in just a few weeks. The headlines screamed investors sold in panic. But those who stayed, those who remembered the Stoic truth that everything changes, saw the market recover completely within months. The patient turned crisis into opportunity. Seneca would have smiled. He wrote fire tests, gold adversity tests, brave men. Every crash is a test, not of your portfolio, but of your principles. Can you stay calm when fear becomes contagious? Can you hold your strategy when doubt becomes fashionable? That's the exam every Stoic investor must pass. Next comes vision, long-term thinking. Marcus thought in decades, not days. He fought wars knowing that empires are not built overnight, but brick by brick. He wrote, "Time is a river, a violent current of events glimpsed once and gone." The modern investor often forgets this. He trades every hour addicted to the illusion of control. But the Stoic investor measures success not by days, but by decades of consistency. Compounding, the most powerful force in finance, rewards the patient and punishes the restless. A dollar doubled 10 times becomes 1,000. But interrupt that process and impatience steals your fortune. That's why Buffett, perhaps the most stoic of modern investors, says the stock market is designed to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. Consistency beats intensity, because the mind that acts slowly acts wisely. The third element is detachment from outcomes. You cannot control returns. You can only control decisions. Marcus would say, don't hope that events will happen as you wish. Wish instead that they happen as they do, and you will have peace. That's not pessimism, that's freedom. When you detach from results, you free yourself from the chaos of chance. You stop chasing luck and start refining process. The Stoic investor does not celebrate gains nor mourn losses. He studies both with equal calm. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every profit becomes a test of humility. He learns not to ask, did I win, but did I act with reason? Because in the long run, discipline compounds faster than capital. It builds not just portfolios, but character. The next principle is simplicity. Simplicity is elegance. Simplicity is power. Epictetus warned against clutter both in possessions and in thoughts. He said wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Complexity is ego disguised as intelligence. People build complex portfolios to feel smart, not to be rich. The Stoic investor strips away the noise. He invests only in what he understands. He avoids trends that require belief instead of knowledge. He knows that most financial failure comes not from ignorance, but from overconfidence. When others complicate, he clarifies. When others speculate, he simplifies. Because simplicity is not the absence of sophistication, it is the presence of mastery. Let's apply this in practice. Imagine two investors. Both start with $10,000. Investor A chases trends buying meme stocks, timing crypto, reacting to headlines. Investor B invests calmly in broad markets consistently every month, never selling in panic. After 20 years assuming an average return of 8%, Investor B ends with $6, $10, even if he does nothing but stay consistent. Investor A, jumping in and out, missing the best recovery days, ends with less than half. Not because of knowledge, but because of emotion. The lesson: you don't need to outsmart the market. You need to outlast your emotions. Modern data agrees. Studies show that the average investor underperforms the market by about 4% annually, not because of fees or lack of access, but because of behavioral mistakes, fear, greed, and impatience. That gap is emotional tax, the cost of not thinking stoically. Imagine paying 4% of your wealth every year to your own emotions. That's the silent expense of an untrained mind. The Stoic investor doesn't eliminate emotion. He observes it, understands it, and refuses to obey it. Let's look deeper into how Stoicism turns into an actionable system. First, create structure before chaos comes. Marcus prepared his mind for loss every morning. He practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. He visualized worst-case scenarios not to fear them, but to defang them. As he wrote, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. In investing, this means building your strategy when you're calm, not when the storm hits. Write down your plan before emotion enters the room. How much risk will you take? What will you do in a crash? What percentage will you save no matter what? Because when fear rises, logic falls. If you decide in advance, your mind will obey your system, not your panic. Second, measure what matters. Most people measure returns. The Stoic measures behavior. He tracks how often he acts out of emotion, not just profit. He reflects daily, like Marcus writing meditations for himself, not for others. He asks, did I act with reason today? Was my decision aligned with my principles? Did I respond or did I react? This daily reflection sharpens discipline, and discipline practiced daily becomes instinct. Third, embrace boredom. Patience feels boring because the world rewards excitement, but the Stoic knows that boredom is often a sign of mastery. He doesn't need constant action to feel alive. He knows that quiet progress beats loud chaos. In markets and in life, boredom is not the enemy, distraction is. Every time you act out of boredom, you trade long-term peace for short-term noise. The Stoic investor sits with stillness. He lets compounding do the work. He trusts that slow growth, guided by reason, outperforms erratic bursts driven by emotion. Fourth, remember impermanence. Every boom will fade. Every crash will pass. Everything changes. As Marcus wrote, all is ephemeral, both memory and the object of memory. When you truly understand impermanence, greed and fear lose their grip. You no longer overreact to what's temporary because you see it for what it is: transient. This truth frees you. It allows you to act from logic, not panic, to see opportunity in decline and humility in success, to remember that the only constant market you truly control is the one within your mind. The Stoic strategy is not about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming anchored. It's about standing still when others sway. It's about replacing prediction with preparation, reaction with reflection, and greed with gratitude. When the market crashes, the Stoic whispers, "This too shall pass." When the market soars, he whispers the same. Because his peace does not depend on the price of anything, it depends on the value of his principles. Let's close with this thought. Marcus Aurelius led armies through famine and war. He faced betrayal, loss, and death. Yet he wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In investing, that means this. Every obstacle, fear, loss, volatility is not a wall. It's a teacher, a lesson disguised as chaos. When others retreat, you refine. When others fear the storm, you build your ship stronger. That is how Stoicism shapes smarter investing, by turning uncertainty into wisdom and emotion into energy. So tonight, as you plan your financial future, remember, you don't need to predict the next bull or bear market. You only need to predict yourself, because the investor who can't master his mind will lose even in a winning market, but the one who can will win even in a losing one. You've now learned how Stoic discipline becomes financial strategy, how timeless wisdom transforms into tangible wealth. In the next part, we'll go even deeper beyond markets and numbers into the heart of true prosperity, because Stoic wealth is not just outer fortune, it's inner freedom. Take a breath, stay steady, and prepare for the final lesson. Part 3. The lesson: Stoic wealth is inner and outer. You've learned the mindset, You've learned the strategy. Now we arrive at the truth that ties it all together, that wealth in the Stoic sense is not just what you own, but who you become. Marcus Aurelius never measured success by gold applause or luxury. He was surrounded by marble power and praise, yet he wrote every night as if he owned nothing. He said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoic investor lives by the same creed. The market will rise and fall. People will win and lose. But your reaction, your calm, your patience, your discipline will decide your destiny. Because the wealth that truly matters is not financial freedom, it's freedom from fear. In today's world, we've confused money with liberty. We call people free because they can buy anything they want, but often those same people are slaves to desire, trapped in a cycle of wanting more. Seneca wrote 2,000 years ago, "No man is free who is a slave to his passions." Modern life proves him right. You can own 10 properties and still feel poor. You can earn 6 figures and still panic every morning. You can appear successful while being bankrupt inside. The Stoic understands that freedom begins when desire ends. When your happiness no longer depends on outcomes you can control. When peace of mind becomes your truest currency. And here's the paradox: once you stop chasing money out of fear, you start to attract it through clarity. You stop reacting to every fluctuation and start seeing patterns. You stop running after opportunity and start building it, because only the calm can see clearly. Only the disciplined can act rationally. Only the grateful can handle abundance without losing themselves. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome through plague, war, and betrayal, yet his journals written in solitude never mention luxury, only virtue. He wrote, "A man's true delight is to do the things he was made for." For Marcus, that meant living with purpose, not pleasure. For us as modern investors, it means building wealth not as a trophy, but as a tool for contribution to help others to create, to grow. Wealth is not evil. It's neutral like fire. In the hands of a fool, it destroys. In the hands of the wise, it illuminates. The Stoic investor sees money not as an end, but as a mirror. It reflects your relationship with yourself. If you're impulsive, your finances will reveal it. If you're calm, they'll reward you. But what does Stoic wealth look like in practice? It's not measured in luxury, it's measured in stability. It's the ability to sleep peacefully, knowing you're not gambling your future. It's the discipline to say no to quick wins so you can say yes to lasting freedom. It's the courage to hold your plan steady while others lose their minds. Marcus wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." That's the well of inner wealth, the kind that compounds silently every day. Each time you resist panic, you grow richer. Each time you act with reason instead of emotion, you invest in wisdom. Each time you choose gratitude over greed, you earn dividends of peace. Let's pause here for a modern truth. The World Bank estimates that over 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within 5 years. They gain wealth but not wisdom. Their money multiplies their confusion. Because without inner stability, outer fortune becomes a curse. On the other hand, countless immigrants, entrepreneurs, and everyday savers build lasting wealth quietly, not because of luck, but because of mindset. They understand what Marcus did, that fortune follows those who master temperament, not timing. And that's the secret. Stoic wealth is character in motion. It's not a number, it's a narrative. The story of someone who learns, adapts, and persists through uncertainty. But Stoic wisdom doesn't just stop at peace, it demands practice. Marcus didn't just write reflections, he lived them. So how can we live Stoic wealth today? Start small. Each morning before you check the news or your portfolio, ask yourself, what's within my control today? Then act on that and nothing else. When the market dips, whisper, "This is not a loss, this is a lesson." When you feel envy scrolling through success stories online, remind yourself what others have is irrelevant to what I can build. And when you make a profit, don't boast, reflect. Ask, did I act with reason or with luck? That question alone will save you from arrogance, and arrogance is the first step toward downfall. Another practice: reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations every night, not for others, for himself. He never meant them to be published. They were letters to his soul, reminders to stay grounded. You can do the same. At the end of each day, write down 3 things. What did I control well today? What did I let control me? What can I do better tomorrow? This daily audit is not about guilt, it's about growth. It turns Stoicism from a philosophy into a daily habit. And habits, not motivation, build fortune, because motivation fades, habits compound. Now think of how this philosophy reshapes wealth itself. If wealth is freedom and freedom is control of your emotions, then the richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. Epictetus, who was born a slave, understood this more than anyone. He said he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This real wealth, the kind that no recession can touch. You could measure it in dollars, but you can feel it in peace. It's the serenity that comes from living aligned with your values, not your vanity. There's another layer to Stoic wealth service. The Stoics didn't see virtue as a private luxury. To them, wisdom without contribution was meaningless. Marcus ruled with the belief that the wealth of one must serve the good of many. Seneca used his fortune to support students and writers. Even Epictetus, who had nothing, taught others how to think freely. The Stoic investor does the same. He knows money is best used not to show off, but to show up for family, for community, for humanity. Because wealth grows when shared, and meaning multiplies when given. Now imagine this, a world where investors act like philosophers, where patience is power, not weakness, where calm minds shape the economy more than panicked ones, where the goal isn't just profit, but peace with purpose. That's not a dream. It's a decision, one you can make right now, to live differently, to invest differently, to define success not by what you earn, but by what you embody. Marcus once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And that's the heart of it all. Think better, live better, invest better. Your thoughts create your reality and your financial destiny. So as you close your journal tonight, ask yourself, am I chasing freedom or am I already free? Am I chasing wealth or am I cultivating it within? What do I truly value and how can my money reflect that? The answers won't come all at once, but each honest reflection will move you closer to peace. And peace is the most valuable asset you'll ever own. The Stoic investor is not a myth. He lives in every person who chooses reason over reaction, patience over panic, purpose over pride. You don't need to wear a toga or rule an empire. You just need to rule your mind. Because once you do, fortune follows naturally, quietly, steadily, inevitably. Wealth outside mirrors wealth within. And as Marcus taught us, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. That is the ultimate dividend, the daily return on a well-lived life. So build your empire not of marble and gold, but of virtue, wisdom, and peace. Invest not only in assets, but in awareness. And remember, the Stoic investor's greatest gain is not what he earns, but what he learns. You've now reached the end of this journey, but in truth, it's only the beginning. Because the moment you start practicing Stoic wealth, you stop being controlled by fortune and start becoming its master. If Marcus Aurelius' wisdom moved you, if you're ready to master both your mind and your money, share this with someone chasing calm in chaos, and subscribe to Making Life Better for more Stoic insights every week. Comment Stoic to show you're building wealth through wisdom, not emotion. Remember, the market doesn't test your strategy, it tests your discipline. So stay calm, stay focused, stay Stoic. Become the Stoic investor. Build wealth the timeless way.